Hey, what's good, everybody? Zach, Jennifer, Brian, a lot of familiar faces in here. Uh, Chris, C Young HVAC. Who else do we got in here? We got Just Work, Jason Johnson's in the house. Let's see. Talking about Crocs and socks. So, welcome everybody to the Reliable HVACR live stream and podcast. And today we got a pretty special guest. We have a doctor in the house, a legit, actual doctor. You know, he has his PhD. I'll let him go ahead and elaborate on that. But hey, what's going on, Josh? But he's also another HVAC Tactical award winner. He's doing things with Solderweld, and he does a lot of cool stuff. So let me bring on the HVAC doctor himself, Matt Waxer. What's going on, man?
Hey, Adrian, how's it going, brother?
It's going pretty good. It's hot as hell over here, but we're managing.
Exactly. Well, I
How's
can
it
use some of
how's
the
it over
warm
there?
weather up here. It was a little bit cooler up 4 hours north from where I typically live, where I was working the past day and a bit. So happy to be back in my neck of the woods, and happy to be on your podcast. Pumped to be on here, man. Super excited.
I appreciate it. I'm pretty stoked to have you on here. I did catch, the one that you did with Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. I know you and Jay were on there, so a lot of cool stories, and I can't wait to dive into uh, your background and some of the stuff that you got going on because you do a lot of interesting work with the Aeon units and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's you know awesome little product to work on. It's not everybody's cup of tea. I'm surprised the chat isn't blowing up with particular brand hatred. I see that a lot between the products I work on and one of my good friends, Ilya, the HVAC foodie,
Oh
the
yeah.
product that he works on, engineered air. We see a lot of people that don't like the particular brands we work on, that we start
Hmm.
up, and a lot of that, unfortunately, from what I've seen, it's people just don't understand the products. People come up with a preconceived bias about a particular product without having actually worked on it or being trained properly on it. To come to an opinion of, oh, something is garbage right off the hop, well, come work on it for a while. Come actually learn the product and then, you know, see if you still have the same opinion. I'm sure once you actually get to work on it, it'll probably be eye opening.
I think that's and I kind of like already got over that kind of stuff because I used to be like that, or I used to hear that a lot, right? Brand A is better than brand B. This one's garbage, that one's garbage. But at the end of the day, and some people don't realize a lot of this equipment is made by the same manufacturer, so they're arguing for no reason. And a lot of it is like how you take care of it, maintain it, startup, the installs, all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, they all kind of do the same thing as long as you are taking care of it, getting or know how it works and maintain it. Everything breaks, everything needs to be repaired, needs to be checked up on. I think I don't really have a brand loyalty to anybody. It's like if it's in front of me, I'll work on it. If we're selling a new unit, customer gets option A, B, and C. What do you guys prefer? I can give you like recommendations on what's easier to maybe repair or get parts for, but that's about it. I think they're all kind of the same.
Yeah, there are different tiers and levels to different pieces of equipment out on the market.
Sure.
You have your like this. We're just talking about, say, package rooftop units. You have your standard, typical, entry level units like your Lennoxes, your Carriers, your Yorks, your Trains, your
Hmm.
entry level Daikin's, which are really a Goodman rooftop, and there's a market for that, absolutely. And then there's other products like what I work on, predominantly Aeon,
Hmm.
engineered air, Haycon. There's a number of semi-custom and custom rooftop and air handling units that fit a different market and niche. It all depends on what the actual application for the end use of that product is and where it fits in. So things like your Lennox KGB or KGA rooftop unit aren't going to be able to do the same things that, say, an engineered air unit or a Haycon or an Aon unit can do. And they're
Mhm.
constructed completely different to a certain degree as well. At the base level, do they all do the same thing, sort of? Well, yeah, they all move air, they all transfer heat, but the way they go about doing it can be fundamentally different, and the construction of them uh, can be, different as well. Where these semi-custom and custom rooftop units, you're paying extra money because there's extra energy-saving features that are built into them.
Mhm.
That being said, is everybody's cup of tea? No, no. But it's my cup of tea. It's what I like to work on. It's what I love to get up and go do every single day. It's my area of what I've, put myself into to work in this industry is I've busted my rear to get to the point where I'm a commissioning startup guy and to work on and specialize on a small select brand of HVAC products. So I don't see, everything that's out there. I'm working to be the best darn tech I can on a small product line to be an air quotes expert on those lines
Mhm.
so that, when someone goes and works on those and hits a brick wall, well, call the doc, call me up, and I'm here to help. Like, it's all about helping out the fellow community, right? It's all about the community over competition. If I know something about a product line and you've hit a brick wall on it, I'm here to help.
Mhm.
I'm not here to hold on to that knowledge. That'd be really petty of anybody who holds on to knowledge thinking that they're going to advance themselves. No, share it freely.
I know, man, and, that's with everything. It's the same thing, like, that I get for because you do, a lot more high-end equipment than I do. So, I mean, it's I'm glad that you came on the show so we can talk about what you do, because not a lot of people, especially maybe here in the chat, know. I know Jennifer and Jason Johnson are mentioning that they're familiar with that kind of stuff, but a lot of people might not know how that stuff works or why people get that, that Aeon unit. Or I've seen your videos and it looks pretty complicated in there from a, light commercial text point of view. But
Yeah.
I get the same thing with the kitchen stuff, because a lot of people don't like kitchen refrigeration. It's like a little niche that I've gone into, and I've learned to embrace it, and I love what I do, but
Hmm.
not everybody loves dealing with kitchens and being around all that equipment, the tight areas and stuff like that. But I love it, and that's what I do. So,
Oh,
everybody has their
exactly.
own thing.
Did a little bit of kitchen work back in when I first broke into the trade. Was it fun to work on the equipment at the time? Absolutely. But was it my cup of tea? No, not really. And I don't knock anybody for doing that kind of work. I got
Hmm.
utmost respect for it. Just like, you know, there seems to be, I find, a preconceived bias that people think that, oh, you work on a particular, say, elite brand of equipment or, more complicated brand of equipment, that you're going to have an ego and look down on people that say, work on, you know, air quotes simpler light commercial units or people who do residential. No, I got nothing but respect and admiration for people that find what they like to do in this trade and do it with passion and do it well.
Yeah, there's so many avenues that you can take in this trade. That's what's great about it. I do want to bring up Josh here. He's like, "Come on!" He said he wanted the haters. Some people that I know like Goodman, and I have no issue with them. Josh over here is a big Daikin fan. I think he's going to tour their facility again. He's been doing some content, and they're letting him go behind the scenes and show how that assembly line, they put together. I think it's Daikin and Goodman and all those other ones that are in uh, that little branch there. And everybody has their own flavor that they like to deal with, and I don't think there should be any bias unless you've there. I mean, there are certain things that you might run into over and over and over that are annoying. Problems here and there. The quality of the product that happens from time to time, but you know, everybody has their own equipment that they work on.
Exactly. And, you know,
Let's see.
speaking of quality issues, that's a thing that lies heavily on the startup technician. Just, being
Oh yeah.
biased from being a startup tech, it's if you If you're not doing your job, doing a proper startup, going through part of my startup procedure is before I even energize the unit, I'm going through every single wire connection on the
Mhm.
unit. Half the time I'm pulling wires out and restripping them and relanding them just
Oh,
because
yeah.
they're not quite how I want them. Or you find something miswired. It happens. These units are assembled by people. Anytime
Mhm.
that you have human hands putting something together, mistakes can and will happen. It's inevitable. And as the, last line of defense before the unit goes into operation, the startup tech has to make sure that they've dotted all their I's and crossed all their T's to make sure that that thing works properly.
Exactly, man. They gotta check, double check. I like to triple check, just be sure that the unit's gonna be, up and running, whether you're starting it up, doing a change out on something, and you wanna make sure that 'cause, there's older guys that are really stubborn on some stuff, but you gotta make sure you purge that nitrogen when you braze. You gotta pull that vacuum down, do a lot of people don't like to do triple evacuation, stuff like that. There's certain things that you need to do to make sure that you're setting that unit up for success and not that it's gonna be, down in a few months or whatever it may be, and then, that comes back to you. Some people say that uh, they never had an issue, but what if, you're not the one that they call back to go do it? Someone else has to deal with your issue, and I've had defects come from the manufacturer, like you said, it happens. I've had to second guess myself because I'm like, I just bought this, it's brand new. I don't know if it's defective or if I'm doing something wrong. But I've been there. It doesn't happen too often, but it happens more times than not. The problems I'm dealing with on the stuff that I work on, it's from the previous person not doing something correctly. So just make sure you and not bashing on anybody because I just had a couple of posts I think you had seen on social media where I'm like, I'm not bashing on anybody. We all need to help each other on social media, and it's just about being better every day. And like I said, check, double check, triple check.
I was seeing the couple posts that I think you're mentioning. That
Yeah,
one guy dropping a whole bunch of haterade on you. It's you've made it when you got the haters commenting on you.
hasn't happened in a while, but every time I try to reply, I either get blocked or they delete the comment or something happens. It's never a win situation for me.
Yeah. Speaking of branding and comments, and
Yeah,
someone fly
well,
by in the post there, block with the dock in Crocs. Well, maybe I got
oh,
to talk to Crocs about hooking me up with a sponsorship while this
hey,
contest is still going.
hey, we need to tell Ben we need some HVAC Tactical Doc Crocs. You
There we
know,
go.
there we go.
Or maybe I can get Lance to hook me up in Chicago when we do the ceremonial passing of the torch on to whomever the next personality that's going to take over the Solderweld Hot Block campaign is going to be.
Sure, and we'll talk about that too. But Josh, your HVAC Doctor, good branding. I actually wanted to bring that up before we dive into some other stuff. That's not a gimmick. That's what I was trying to tell people. It's not a gimmick. You have a PhD, correct?
Yeah, so all aspects of my Instagram handle name, a lot of people think, oh, the HVAC doctor, well, he's, hitting on the doctor thing as he's going in and fixing things up like a medical doctor. Well, no, I actually am a PhD doctor. I have a PhD in psychology, specialized in developmental cognitive neuroscience. So prior to finding my true passion and career within HVAC in a previous life, well over a decade ago, man, is it over? It's well over a decade. It's been a while since I've been in the research world. I was doing brain imaging studies and looking at multitasking and error processing and what parts of the brain do that and how do that change across developmental time from being, say, a child to a teenager to a young adult. I spent a lot of time doing that. So, the old line of stay in school, kids, you'll get a better job. Well, I went as far as you can, academically speaking, and I
Yeah.
still landed back in the trades and found my true success and happiness in the trades. Uh, am I going to say don't go to school? No, go to school.
Yeah.
People, if they're going to find their success and happiness within a skilled trade, you don't need to follow the path I did. You don't need
Mm-hmm.
to put in those years upon years. It was 13 years of post-secondary education that I put in to get my PhD. People don't need to do that. They can go right into the skilled trades. We have a massive shortage of skilled trades workers. We need more men and women in the skilled trades. So we got to break the kind of educational tradition thing of
Oh
you're
yeah.
done high school, no, now you have to go to college or university. Not necessarily. If your passion and your career is going to be in the skilled trades, which there's so many great jobs, go right into it. Just dive in. You're not going to regret it. If your passion is to go be a medical doctor, a chemist, a physicist, a lawyer, go do that. Right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
not here to trash higher education. It's just know what you want to go do and pursue it with the utmost passion. So yeah, I actually am a doctor, and there was the transition out of being a doctor, so to speak. When I went into psychology, it was to be a researcher, be a university professor. And partway through my PhD, there was a fundamental shift in the retirement structure uh, for professors. They took away retirement at 65. So now there's professors in their 80s and 90s in labs that, had things been different, I would probably not be sitting here having this conversation with you. I'd probably be sitting in a research lab doing what I was doing previously. So, you know, knowing that there was going to be likely zero chance that I would land a academic position, I had to find something else to do. I'd always worked in the trade since I was 12. My uncle was a carpenter. So, as I was finishing up my PhD, I went back into carpentry for a while. Didn't really want to pursue that as a lifetime career. Not
Mm-hmm.
against anything against carpentry and people who do that for a living. I needed something different. I needed something that's challenging on multiple fronts. We break out the term the king of the trades. We are. We do it all. We do a little bit of plumbing, we do a little bit of electrical, a little bit of mechanical, a little bit of carpentry to get stuff into units that we need to repair. We have to know a little bit of every single trade out there. So the transition into HVAC took a tiny little bit of time, but the stuff that I did in my academic career, people are like, "Oh, you wasted all that time." "Oh, you're so overqualified." There are so many transferable skills from what I did
Mm-hmm.
in the academic world over to what I'm doing here. So things like, signal processing, things like programming, things like, just investigation, troubleshooting, dealing with people, writing reports, they're all transferable skills that, you know, for at least my journey, were a valuable life lesson that needed to be done before I could get to the point where I'm at right now.
And that's a good way to look at it, right? You applied your skills from one aspect of your career to another one, and yeah, like I think everybody just has to find, and a lot of it is like trial and error, because like when you're out of high school, you don't know. A lot of times, you don't know what you want to do. I was going to school actually. Well, everybody has to go to school, right? That's always the norm. That's what everybody wants you to do. So I went to college. I was getting my basics, and I was actually going to do electrical and engineering just because that's what piqued my interest. I was like, I don't know, I'm good at fixing stuff. I'm good with electricals. Uh, that kind of stuff interests me, so that's what I got into. By which my dad actually does a hot side, and he was actually an electrician beforehand. So I was around it, but I was never super into it as far as like trades. I just didn't know about the whole like refrigeration side and all that had to offer, because once I got into that aspect, I loved it. And like I said, I was always fixing things anyway. For a while, I did have a little side business, I guess I would call it, is doing like laptop repairs, smartphone repairs, taking them apart, figuring out what was wrong with them. Because I would get like a whole bunch of weird issues, not just like cracked screens and stuff like that. So I've always been intrigued in diagnosing things figuring out what the issue is, taking things apart, putting them back together. And then and that was gonna be another thing that I was gonna bring up is uh you're not you're not a gimmick. You actually were a doctor and came over. But like when I had that phone business, that was a big popular thing where everybody did like medical gimmicks. There was like smartphone ER, uh, smartphone medic. I think phone doctor was another one. Like there was a whole bunch of gimmicks. So I can see where people are like, "Oh yeah, haha, you're the HVAC doctor." But
Yeah, like,
no,
haha, I'm a walking gimmick. No, actually, I try to make, connect things all together and make it all factual. Initially, when I was breaking into the skilled trades, and into this kind of aspect of it, the first company I worked for, initially, I went in there with the mindset of I want to go into HVAC, but we didn't have the proper journey person to apprentice ratio at the time. So they were tailoring me to be a plumber. So had things been different and wouldn't be the HVAC doctor, I guess I'd have to go with the handle of maybe Professor Plum instead, which I was caught in the library with a candlestick,
oh yeah,
if anybody remembers the game Clue.
uh huh. Uh, Jen's asking, what did you want to be growing up? Did you ever have any aspirations to, or what you wanted to be, when you grew up?
Not really. I think, as a kid, everybody has that, going through the stages of, oh, I want to be, like a firefighter or police officer or, professional wrestler or, baseball player or whatever. And it's not till, later on, going through high school and into university, college that you start realizing what you're actually more
Yeah.
interested in. And, for those that can actually, pick what they want to do as a kid and actually see that through, man, I got nothing but the utmost respect for people that can do that. But I don't think many people would be working the job that they do right now, especially in our industry.
Yeah.
Thinking about, that as a kid, like as a kid, do you really think about, oh, I'm going to be a refrigeration mechanic, or I'm
Mm-mm.
I'm going to go work hot and cold side in a kitchen and repair that equipment? No, as a kid, you're wondering, how long is my Happy Meal going to take to make at McDonald's? What toy am I getting? And when can I get home and play a video game, or go play with my friends or something along those lines?
Oh yeah, man. Growing up, I think all I wanted to be was just a basketball player. I was really into sports, and that's all I focused on. And like I said, my dad was an electrician. He worked late nights, and then he got a job doing hot side. He lucked out because they were offering to train him and everything. Because he didn't do that before, and he went out of town for a lot of trainings. Studied really hard when he was at home to try and catch up to everybody else that was there at that company that he worked at. And I will say this, I didn't, get into the trades, or I didn't really think about it when I was a kid, when I saw him, when I was in high school or anything like that. I guess it just didn't click. But I did see his work ethic and how he uh, strived to be, the best hot side tech that he could be. He won an award for it at his company. He was recognized in the state and everything. So
That's awesome.
all of that all of that, was in my head. Like once I got into the trade, I was like, I want to kind of show him that I can do this too, because I was a helper for him at first. That I can do this too, and I want to be, the best at what I can be. So once he was like, "Hey, I need like somebody that does refrigeration or the stuff that I don't do," I was like, "All right." I went to school. It was a 2-year program. Got through it, and then I got thrown straight into commercial refrigeration, restaurants, hospitals, all that stuff. And I was like, "All right, challenge accepted. I'll take it, and let's do this."
Yeah. So, in terms of licensing and schooling, is it a mandatory 2-year program that you need to do where you are?
Uh, well, for the state, I am licensed. I'm a contractor, so
Yep.
school takes school does count, and then you have to ride with somebody that can. It's for like another 2 years or 3 years. Somebody that can sign off for you. So That's the thing is, like, people always ask me how I got it or how they can get it. It's different in every state. I wish it was the same across the board so I could, tell people what to do.
Yeah, it's one thing that I commonly come across is it's so different from state to state within the United States, whereas up here in Canada, we kind of have, at least for certain aspects of what we do in HVAC, it's interprovincial. It goes across all provinces, where to be a refrigeration and AC mechanic, it's a 5-year apprenticeship, 9,000 hours that you have to get signed off on. And during those 5 years, you have to complete 3 levels of in class education full time that are 2 months long each. So you go through two
Oh,
months
okay.
of basic, 2 months of intermediate, 2 months of advanced. And then after you've completed all your hours in schooling, then you can apply to set what's called your CFQ, your Certificate of Qualification exam, to actually obtain your refrigeration AC license. That only gets
Mhm.
you working on refrigeration and air conditioning units. That doesn't get you working on the heating side. That's a separate ticket in my province. So on top of that, we have gas fitter tickets that are tiered levels as well. So it takes another, gosh, 3+ years to get your full gas fitter level one that you can work on any BTU input into an appliance. So
Yeah, very different.
it's it's quite different across across each state, and semi different across Canada, with the one exception being what we call red seal trades
Mhm.
that are transferable. I can go work anywhere in Canada with my refrigeration license, but if I'm going to work on natural gas or propane in those different provinces, then I have to set an equivalency and basically show, hey, I'm a gas fitter one in Ontario, which
Mhm.
is supposedly the hardest gas ticket to get across Canada. um, Let me set an equivalency, or give me the equivalency so that I can do that work in another province. Not that I do a lot of interprovincial work. It's I have the opportunity and I have the licensing to do so.
Yeah, so, like I said here, I think it's like 4 years experience. I got mine right away, so forgive me, it's been a while since I applied for all that, but, it's like 4 years experience here in, Texas where I'm at. And like I said, school counts for a part of it, and then the only people I knew did residential work. So that's who I was with and who signed off on me so that I could apply and take my test. Not what I actually ended up doing. I ended up doing kitchen refrigeration. So I'll admit to everybody, like I had a lot of uh learning to do on the job when I started. Just mistakes here and there, trying to figure it out. But like with anything, if you just take the time and learn about the equipment, manuals are really great right now. You can get uh, install steps and tips. They even have troubleshooting in the back of the manual. I mean, like if you just read that thing, you'll know how the equipment works, what it does, and what it shouldn't do. And just now you can go on YouTube, watch a bunch of guys like Ty, Craig, Brian Orr, everybody that does educational content. So, uh,
Yeah, add one more into there. If people aren't watching Trevor Matthews,
oh yeah,
you gotta cue into Refrigeration Mentor. Awesome, awesome guy, and so knowledgeable.
a lot of people giving out their knowledge and stuff like that, and you get to consume it online basically for free. I mean, that wasn't around when I started. I was, out there making mistakes left and right. I'm like, okay, that doesn't work. Let's do this.
Yep, and back in the day when you had two-way phones, and before you even queue up that phone to reach out for assistance, you make sure you've exhausted every option and
Oh
that
yeah.
you can't figure out anything more before you reach out and tell what you've done so far. What am I missing? Where's the next step? And hope that you don't get ridiculed for asking for it.
Oh,
There's
I
been a
know.
huge shift and change, which is amazing to see, from those parts of being in the trades. Like hell, back when I was breaking into the carpentry aspect as a young teenager, It was, very old school training of a lot of yelling, a lot of tools flying in the general vicinity of me. Having compressed nail guns fired at me as learning opportunities, air quotes opportunities, but um, you can't do that these days. Like, you have to have completely different training mindset and regiment. It's gone are those days of the air quotes old school training method of, the person doing the training was, pardon the term, shit on as an apprentice. So they're going to do the same to their apprentices as a rite of passage. It's no, it's don't do that anymore. It's you share your knowledge and you stand back and let that person who was in
Hmm.
the position you were in learn how to do something and learn how to, make mistakes and learn from them as well. I've had apprentices, blow up motors and whatnot and be all down and, in the dumps about it. And like, it's a motor. Like, it's a
Yeah.
mechanical component we can replace. Is there going to be a talk if you keep doing it? Yeah. But did you learn something? Did you learn what you did wrong?
Hmm.
If so, go get a new motor and go put it in,
Yeah,
or
it's,
control board,
that's
or
exactly what
whatever.
I've told people. I'm like, we all make mistakes, especially when you're new, but you can't be like afraid to make those mistakes. You burn out a motor, you wire something wrong, a board, whatever it may be, it's all repairable. Just it might cost you a little bit more money, right? If you got to replace that board or motor, like you said, but it's repairable. Just everything's fixable. You burn a hole through that copper, whatever it may be. We'll get it fixed. If as long as you learned and you don't do it, like you said, over and over and over, that is when it becomes a problem. But if not, every mistake you make is something you can learn from. Like that didn't work, do it this way next time, or ask. If I had that problem too when I was starting out, I hated to ask for help, especially tech support. We all have to get over that. That's like a little pride thing. Um, so just learn from your mistakes and ask questions.
I hear the term a pride thing and not calling tech support. Man, I call them all the time.
I do now.
Half
Yeah.
the time I'm calling them just to hear myself talk myself through a problem,
Yes.
and
Yeah, man.
then they verify, what we're talking about. Or, sometimes if I'm, say, working on this brand,
Mhm.
working on an Aeon unit, and I come across something rather unique, I'll have a pretty much direct line to select tech support people at that company. And if it's something really weird and interesting, I'll directly call them. And as soon as they pick up, I'm like, all right, what'd you find this time? I know it's going to be good if you're calling me directly.
Yeah.
And yeah, and put our heads together and get to the bottom of the issues that we're confronted with.
Yeah, and I've had like honestly good and bad experience with it lately, but for the most part I've had some that are really helpful where it's like I'm trying to program a certain like model or brand that I've never seen before, and I make I there was one where I made a dumb mistake just because I didn't know it was asking me questions and I didn't know how to answer them, and I was like, look, I did it like this, I don't know if that's the right way or this and that, and then they're like, oh, go to this option, change this and then set it this way. And then the unit kicked on. So I was like, great. He knew exactly what I was talking about. And he actually, it was for Heatcraft. I called and they weren't able to take my call. But then the guy texted me. So I had a really cool text message back and forth because he was tied up on the phone. And we got through the issue that way. I've had others that can't tell me why certain components give out over and over and over. And then I've had some that, like you said, you just need to hear yourself talk sometimes, which is something that I do with a lot of, the guys in my company, whether it's my dad or somebody else. They might not, I might know more than they do, but like, just hear me out. And if you have any suggestions, that I'm not seeing, or maybe just us talking uh, out loud about it, something clicks, and I'm like, oh, okay, let's do this, and then we get it going. So you gotta get over that. Just ask questions, even if you're just trying to talk your way through it.
For sure. I didn't know that I'm loud and angry. Thanks for letting me know, HVAC guide for homeowners.
Josh, he's a He's a good guy. He's been in here a lot, and
Oh yeah.
he likes to joke around.
I'll
Um,
try to calm down the anger as we move forward.
yeah, I had Pat and Jason Latimer and Rich on here last time, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's Team No Smile," because everybody's just like, you know, mean
Oh man,
mugging.
yeah. Pat puts on a good front, but man, I love that guy. Awesome
Oh,
guy.
they're awesome. I had so much fun when I had them on the show all together. All right,
I
so
did
you
see
have
a
your
question from Jen,
go ahead.
way back up in the chat, asking myself and also you, Adrian, if there was one brand of equipment that we could work on, what would it be?
Oh, I
Um,
wonder what it is for you.
I have no idea what that could be. I prefer working on them, but do I also like working on the other products that the rep firm I work for represents and sells? Absolutely. But the reason why I came to work where I work right now is because of the brand that's on the hat.
Hmm.
It's There's just so many little cool tricks and things you can do with those units, and you have to have a very good understanding, foundational understanding of how to work on them.
She wants to know
Uh,
which one in particular.
uh, which particular model? Um, I prefer the larger air handling units, so anything like up in the RZ range, anything in the well over say 90 ton to 240 ton of cooling capacity units. Those are more fun to play with than the smaller ones. But at the end of the day, I'm there to start up whatever they put in front of me.
Yeah, Total Tech. Anything but Aeon is junk.
See, I knew we'd get an Aeon
Oh,
hater in here.
oh yeah. I read that wrong. Anything but
Oh,
Aeon junk. Yeah, I
anything
guess he
but Aeon
doesn't.
is junk, or Aeon is junk.
I think Aeon is junk.
Yeah, there's plenty of people that have that opinion. But like
uh,
we were saying earlier, come work on it with me for a while, or go get some training and work on it for a while. Are there issues with the units? Yeah, absolutely. There's no such thing as a perfect piece of HVAC equipment. If there was, there would only be one brand. There'd
oh
only be
yeah,
one piece of equipment out there. So, come work on it for a while, gain a solid understanding of how they work and what your role is in working on that piece of equipment. And I'm sure your eyes will be open and you may change your perspective. And if not, that's your perspective and opinion to have. And
yeah. We all have our
everybody's going to have them.
we all have our. I wouldn't say favorite and least favorite, but there's some that's easier to work on than others, or some that you're familiar. It's also about what you're familiar with. So I got really used to like Carrier and Train, and then I got thrown in front of a Lennox unit, commercial rooftop units, and something like a Prodigy or anything like that. I was like, holy crap! There's so many wires compared to a Train or a Carrier. Carrier, the ones I see, super simple, one little board, a few contactors, whatever. And then like as I was out there more often, I'm like, oh man, I gotta learn this one, this brand, that brand, and then it's just when you get familiar with them. I don't have any brand loyalty personally. I just like to work on anything that's put in front of me. So also to answer her question, I like refrigeration more than anything. Put me in front of a walk-in box, freezer or cooler. The bigger, the better. And what we see a lot here, I mean, they're all kind of heat craft. I started working on a couple other brands recently, but I'm pretty good with them. As much crap as I talk about the Heatcraft Intelligen, they're super simple to put in. I really enjoy installing them. It's just that when little things here and there tend to give out because it's and that's the thing now is everything's going electrical or electronic boards for everything, electric expansion valves, things like that. The only issue I have is when they give out something like that, a board or anything, it's hard to get that customer going until we get a new board because that thing is like the brain of a lot of these walk-in boxes. So like I said, there's little quirks here and there, but at the end of the day, that's every brand. Every brand has like a quirk, something good, something bad. So it's just to me, it's what you're familiar with.
100%. And you hit the one thing that's a bit of a tiny pet peeve for me, and just in terms of like labeling technicalities. So people have this divide between what refrigeration is and what HVAC, like AC, package rooftop work is.
Hmm.
To me, there is no divide. It's all refrigeration.
Yeah.
It it's just different temperature ranges you're working in. So me working on pool dehumidification units and say Aeon air handling units. That's all high temp refrigeration. Um, walk-in coolers, your medium temp, and walk-in freezers, you're just low temp, and then you can get
Hmm.
into ultra low temp. At the end of the day, it is all still refrigeration.
Yeah, and I've seen, and that's one of the cool things is you get to see so many different brands, so many different types of equipment. And I've worked for restaurants and stuff that have custom made or kind of custom made equipment for them and their restaurants because they have a way that they put their kitchens together and all that. So when you first look at something, it's like, oh man, this is very different. I don't know what to do, or I don't know what to look. I don't know where to start. It's all the same. There's a compressor, more than likely. It's the same refrigeration cycle, the same components, the same deal that you're doing with all these. It's like you're trying to cool space and reject heat. And it's just everything in between the controls, the safeties, and I guess the scale of how big or how small the equipment is.
Yeah. I answer a just work HVAC question of aluminum coil stuff. So
Oh yeah, you're an
if you
expert
don't
on
have
that right
these
now.
things, look for that little logo out in supply houses to get into the Solderweld contest. But we're going to be seeing more and more that you're going to have to do aluminum repairs in the field. Lance was on the money that there's
Hmm.
going to be more and more need and necessity to be doing aluminum repairs. And it's a different procedure from just standard brazing or soldering. It does take a little bit of skill to do it, but once you get the knack of it, you're good to go. Uh, we're seeing manufacturers having aluminum coil shortages. So to get that customer back up and going, you're going to have to repair that microchannel coil, or you're going to have to repair that U bend that's made out of aluminum to get them back up and running. You're not going to have an option. What are you going to tell your customer? Oh, sorry, your equipment's down, and it's a 8 to 12 week lead time to get your coil. You think you're going to have that customer sticking around? No, they're going to go find somebody that can actually do that repair and go with them instead. So, increasing your knowledge on how to do that, absolutely go and do it. And in terms of liking the Solderweld products, um, well, yeah, they're damn good products. Um, the aluminum rods that they have, this is no lie, this is no gimmick. I'm not paid to say this by Lance and Solderweld. They're the best aluminum repair rods on the market. They have the lowest melting point to get that rod flowing to make that repair, because everybody knows aluminum is pretty sensitive to heat. It starts
Hmm.
melting at 1221, I think, degrees Fahrenheit, 1221, in and around that ballpark range. So, to have a aluminum repair rod that starts flowing in around the 6 to 700 degree Fahrenheit range, yeah, it's a game changer. It's the best thing you can use to make that repair. And then to protect it, well, marketing 101, go get yourself some hot block. Or if you can't find hot block, go use Refrigeration Technologies wet rag. I've used both. I personally prefer hot block. I find it to be, in my humble opinion, a far superior product.
Hmm.
There are things you can do with hot block that I've done with hot block that I wouldn't trust competitors' products to do. So, the lifetime guarantee thing you see on the tub, like right, if it would focus right there,
Uh-huh.
I have burnt the living snot out of hot block, brazing
Yeah.
stuff in, and take those burnt parts off of the hot block, re-add water and start mixing it together. Guess what? You can still use it again. Other
Yeah.
products, you burn the snot out of it, you're throwing it out. It's a commodity use item at that point. Whereas a hot block brand from Solderweld, awesome, awesome product. Got nothing but good things to say about it. And that's not because my little Instagram logo face is on there. Even if it
Yeah.
wasn't, I'd be saying the same thing about it.
Yeah, and I've tried both. I do have little things on each. I'm not sponsored or have any affiliation with either one, so I give people my honest opinion on both. I feel like they are different. They are different. They do the same thing, but they are a little different, and I've been trying out both of them. And Total Tech, shameless plug. I was actually going to ask the doctor here. He won the Solderweld contest, which previously was Flynn to win, I believe,
Yep.
where
So the first
Flintstone was on
version,
it.
yeah, first version that they rolled out this Solderweld Hot Block campaign was with Mike Flynn with Flintstone One, and Mike did an awesome job with it. And when it was basically, like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, go find your golden ticket and start making content with it. So, there seemed to be a little back and forth contest between my Red Seal Inc. brother Jay, HVAC
Hmm.
J604, and myself in terms of, who could one up the next, hot block video during that contest. And, when the announcement was made New Year's that I actually won the contest, like, dude, I was just blown away. I couldn't even, my hands were shaking. I was just in shock and awe that I'd won this thing. And man, it's been one heck of a cool ride.
And now you get to be the face of the hot block this year. And then though I think somebody had just is it the first one that's been found that just recently went up?
So there's been a couple
A
of
couple?
HVAC Doctor products that have been found.
Oh, okay.
So in the initial first year, it was just Mike's logo on the hot block product. And then for this round, we've got my logo on hot block and also the aluminum coil repair kit bags.
Oh, that's right.
So there's been Luis or Lewis. I always mix up his name. HVAC five
562.
six
Yeah.
two. He found an aluminum coil repair kit bag that he just posted like yesterday or the day before. I think Aiden, he's found a hot block tub,
Oh, okay.
and I think there's one other who found a hot block tub. So
How
there's
many of
plenty
these
out
get
there.
how many of these get sent out?
So my understanding is with each pack of six, so they ship in
Mhm.
packs of six. I think each pack of six has one winning tub in it, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
wow.
And I'm not entirely sure about just how many aluminum coil repair kit bags have the doctor patch on them, but I'm sure there's enough out there. We're just wondering where they're sitting, and looking forward to more and more people finding them and posting about them.
Yeah, I just wanna oh, wrong one. Total Tech, been doing this for years with a hand pump sprayer and wet rags. Awesome for you, buddy, but sometimes I don't have access to water. I know some guys use like the water from the drains and stuff, but those are nasty as hell too. To wet their rags and stuff. I don't want to go back down to go to a faucet or anything like that. So I just make sure that I always have either the wet rag putty or the hot block version of it in my bag when I take my torches and all that because we don't have water access in a lot of these places.
That, or if you have the option and the application, you know, is fit to do so, press it. You know, break
That's
break
another
out
another
break out the
controversy you're
RLS.
bringing up.
I like to be full of controversy. Awesome, awesome product in my humble opinion. Paul and everybody at RLS are absolutely amazing people, and it's a great product. There's situations like server rooms and other situations where breaking out a torch is just not going to be possible,
I
and you
work in
have to make a
hospitals. Yeah.
repair. Hospitals, prime example. If you've got to make a repair anywhere in a hospital, like, you're not shutting down the place and putting it on fire alarm bypass and filling out hot work permits when you can just come in and press it and get it done.
Yeah.
It's right application for the right time. Right product, right application, right time, and it saves you a lot of time if you're doing the proper preparation steps to install that product.
Yeah, and on pressing, I'm 100% behind RLS. Uh, I have that tool, and I buy those couplings. I restock when I get low. I don't use it as much as a lot of these guys that do like residential work, and that's how they put their line sets in and stuff. But honestly, like it saved me some time before where I don't like I'm doing a repair down in the evaporator because I do a lot of walk-in boxes where the condenser might be pretty far away from it, and I got to go change out like a dryer or something small where I don't want to take my torches all the way over there when I can just press it in, right? Or a small rub out or something like that, and you're doing less of a load for your body and stuff trying to take over the torches, rope it up, however you do it. And it has a time and a place, like you said, and it's just another option. Everybody has, or I like options. Um, I could say the same about people that take their impact or drills up to the roof. Like you don't need it. You can do with a normal screwdriver, right? But you rather use that drill. It's the same thing
100%.
with the press or anything like that. You could do it with your torches, but there's an easier option if you do it right.
Yeah. And people, from what I've seen so far, a lot of people balk at the price of an RLS fitting. Y-
It's an investment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an investment, and yeah, the fittings cost money, but when you balance that out against the expense of having to break out your torches, the expense of silphos,
Oh
the
yeah.
expense of nitrogen, so on and so forth, the time to set all that up, the time to get a hot work permit if you need to get one, press is going to be faster potentially in that option. But again, it's weigh your options and use
Yeah.
what's right and what you're most comfortable doing. Like
Yeah.
if
Self
brazing is what you need to do, go braze it. And while you're brazing it, shameless plug, go get some solder weld rods. Get them round rods.
I can't get them right now. They're sold out everywhere I look. And those also, because of what it is, price goes up on those things too. So
Yep.
the press fittings, they cost quite a bit, but you stock those and you can reach for them whenever you need them. Like I said, I don't do a lot, so I keep a minimal stock for me. I have a little pack out that has all the fittings that I commonly use. But what after the initial investment of the tool, which you have to make on your own, you have to decide. That's your deciding factor there. Is it worth it in the long run to get the tool? Because I don't think the couplings are the issue. The couplings, honestly, you should be bending and using the least amount of joints, whether you're brazing or pressing. I feel very strongly about that because even brazing has leaks. So, bend your line set and try to use the least amount of couplings, and you pass that cost to your customer, and it's only going to add what, another $100, $200 at the most to the invoice. I don't think they're gonna mind that if it's done in a timely manner and done quicker. Or yeah, well, mostly it's for the quickness. Because let me
Mhm.
tell you, on the walk-in boxes and things like that I do, we're trying to build out, put the condenser in place, put the evaporator in place, take out the old stuff, run the line set. You have all this other stuff that you need to do on top of like wiring and running your drain lines, making sure everything matches up. When it comes to the brazing part, I'm like, "Oh, I just wanna get this over with," right? And I've been, using the press tools lately for that kinda stuff where it's like, I have way more things to do on this day to finish this install. The last thing I want to think about is connecting the line set.
Yep. To answer the question you have there, what size does RLS go up to? Jen's answered in the chat 1 3/8. They do have fittings bigger than that. So in my neck of the woods, for install, depending on the tonnage of the unit, there's a governing body that oversees the installation of refrigeration piping, and there's only up to a certain size at the moment that they've approved to use use RLS. And I know that Paul and the team are working hard on larger size press fittings,
Yeah.
and look forward to seeing those come out. I'm sure they're going to be up in the 2 1/8, 2 3/8, 2 5/8 range very shortly. If anybody swung by the RLS booth in Atlanta, they had some of their larger fittings and larger press guns on display there. So stay tuned. It's only going to get bigger and better.
Oh yeah. So so we actually met at the AHR event, and
Yep.
I saw you at the Tactical Award show as well, because you, like I said, you won the Solderweld contest. You got to be the new face of that. Um, you got your presentation for that and all that. You also won, I believe, the Lifeline Tech Award,
Yeah,
correct?
it's sitting right there. Come on,
Yeah,
focus. There we
there you go.
There was a lot of glaze and haze on it. Yeah, um, that was a complete surprise that I was winning it. I knew that I was nominated going there, but I also knew who I was nominated up against. All Canadians in my nomination category, with Ilya, my HVAC brother, the HVAC foodie, and HVAC Dylan Roper. Dylan's out in Vancouver, and I honestly thought that Dylan was taking that award because he's very well deserving of it. He actually just won a top 40 under 40 award,
Oh
and
yeah.
he's doing awesome stuff. I think in my speech when I got up there, I think I actually did say that I thought Dylan was taking this award home, and I was shocked when Brent, said, is there a doctor in the house? I'm like, you know, I'm
Yeah.
excited, but I'm like, oh crap, I got to go talk again.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh
little
yeah,
did
because you had to go up there twice.
Yeah, little did I know when I was up there talking, like when I received the award, I was looking just down a little bit, um, and there's a teleprompter. I'm like, I was thinking as I'm talking to the audience, man, like Brett had a like a basically written out speech going across the teleprompter for him to read. Now I got to come up and wing this.
Yeah.
Like, it was an absolutely amazing experience. That's a night I will never forget whatsoever. I'm looking forward to Chicago, but man, 2023 Tactical Awards, that holds a very special place in my heart. It was an absolutely amazing night.
Yeah, that was awesome. It was a great event. Just really quickly, I was actually going to mention you, Josh. Josh here, he has a YouTube channel, HVAC Guide for Homeowners, was also on that top 40 under 40. So congrats, man.
Yeah, congrats, Josh. That's awesome, brother. And
Let's see.
I, I I can't go for any of that being an old guy.
Yeah, somebody else was like under 40. Yeah, like that's the list. That's the cutoff right there.
Yeah, once you're over 40, like myself, yeah, you're out of that contention. But you can always go for a tactical award.
Oh yeah, like all the guys that won are amazing. Previous winners, everybody's real supportive of each other. So I can't wait to see who wins, the next one. And Jennifer wants to remind everybody that you can nominate over at HVACtactical.com. It's not whoever gets the most votes or anything. It's just you, if you want to consider somebody for an award, you go on their website and submit them, uh, fill out the form there, and they'll be nominated. And then there's a whole process that goes on behind the scenes, how they pick the winners and stuff.
Yeah, Ben has a whole selection committee to decide, who's in what
Yeah,
category. One thing I do like about this year's online nomination platform is you can actually pick what category you're going to nominate somebody for.
yeah.
And then ultimately they're going to decide if that individual fits that category for an award.
Hey, we got Brett Wetzel. Brett Wetzel, you won or you're on that list too, the 40. I didn't know that.
I didn't
Congrats
know
if you
that
were.
either. Congrats, Brett, if you were on the top 40 under 40, brother. That's awesome accomplishment. Great
Yeah,
great
it's a
people
cool
in that
little list.
list.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's a cool little list. Great accomplishment uh for the guys that are killing it out there.
Absolutely. People like the people we've talked about also, you know, although he's my age, and we're both the same age. Gary won one back in the day as well, Mr. HVAC Know-It-All.
That like yeah, when I had first seen this, I knew Ben at the time when he started it, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool," that he's giving out these little awards, but it was basically online and stuff. And then to go to the Vegas one, I missed it because I missed my flight. But then I got to make the Atlanta one, and that one was like awesome. And I can't wait to see what he does for the next one. And I think he just announced that it's hosted by Vito Propack now.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely awesome. I also saw that a gentleman who was sitting at the table that Pat and I were sitting at in Atlanta, Mark Tama with GE. Um,
Oh yeah.
that GE's the official sponsor for the after party.
Everybody wanted an after party, and now there's an official one. So great. That's gonna be awesome.
It's going to be an absolute blast. Looking forward to Chicago. It's going to be crazy fun. So many people to see, so many people to get caught up with. And for anybody that's in the chat that's thinking of going, go. And if you haven't been to an AHR before, Atlanta was my first that I attended.
Oh
You got to plan what you want to do and who you want to go see, because there is no way to do it all and see it all whatsoever.
yeah, the first time I went was the Vegas one, and you think you can see everything quickly, but you can't. There's so many cool
No,
places to stop in the convention that's going on, and a lot of like contests, prizes that they give out, a lot of just stuff that they give out like shirts and different swag. There are stations that have beers and things like that, and there's a whole bunch going on. It's a really cool event to be at if you've never been there. And yeah, there's a reason why they go 3 days, or it's 3 days long. You really need to break down what you're gonna do for those 3 days, or try to be there as much as you can. And it's a lot to take in.
oh yeah, and not only just the conference itself, the after events. You got to
Yeah, because
pick and
all these
choose which ones
companies,
you want to go to as well.
all all these companies invite you out to their little get-togethers or dinners or events. So whenever like you have the award show to do the night before, then you have the AHR to do during the week, during the day, and there's going to be events going on at night in the evening. So there's honestly, something to do at any given time on your trip there. So like we said, if you haven't been or if you plan to go, it's really fun. I highly recommend it. I took my brother with me, and he was just like in awe of everything because he's not on social media, so he doesn't see this stuff. I mean, the demos to him were amazing. He was out there taking pictures and everything, and he was really into it. So it was really cool to see that because sometimes we kind of see this stuff online. Lance is always doing his demos, posting it online. You get to see this stuff online, but then you get to see it in person, which is cool. But like to somebody who's never seen it, or maybe they don't know about the community on Instagram or anything like that, it's a really cool event. There's so much going on. A lot of new stuff gets unveiled there. They had the Milwaukee vacuum pump last time. They had all the new Klein stuff that they made, the pack out, whatever they want to call it. All that stuff was there. So you get to see that stuff firsthand. Vito had a lot of their tool bags that weren't out yet that I was a little upset about because I was like,
Are
they
we
were
going to
like,
see yours in Chicago? There's the question. My
Are we?
question of the night: are we going to see your Vito bag that's in development in Chicago?
How'd you hear about that?
I don't know. Maybe a few of your podcasts have mentioned it a couple times.
Yeah, I thought I could talk here because I feel like I'm like, who watches this, you know? But
A,
uh
a doctor from time to time.
um yeah, okay, I helped them a little bit on ideas and stuff like that. I don't want to say too much. I don't know if they'll pop in here or not, but they are the reason that I'm going. They did talk me into it, so I will be at the booth uh for Vito a good amount of time there. So if you guys go out there, hit up the Vito booth, I might be there. But they this last time I wasn't allowed to talk about some of their stuff because they show me the some of the new stuff that comes out. Then I get there and I'm like, dude, you have everything on display, and I'm like, but that's what they do when you go to these shows. They have stuff that may not be out yet or that's coming out, and you get to see it there first. So that's kind of cool too. And like Vito and a lot of these, they let you actually like touch the stuff, pick up the stuff, look at it, though, and ask them questions. Because like at the Vito booth, a lot of guys came up and started asking them about the bags and stuff, and they'll give you the whole rundown. And that goes for any booth. They'll explain every tool, every they'll have demos and different things, and they'll talk to you about their product. If you want to know stuff, you get to see it, and then you get to talk to the manufacturer about it.
Definitely. Going back to your point of some people see some of the things online, like different product demos and whatnot. One that experience I had from down in Atlanta was the last day. I did the whole hot block on the palm demo thing,
Oh yeah.
and I did that with Craig Migliaccio, and uh, you know a guy that you know been chatting with a fair bit, and we'd known each other before going to Atlanta, sort of, but realized who we really were once we got down there was Justin Vader, Vader the plumber.
Oh yeah.
If you followed him or ever crossed paths with him, um, so I was getting set up to do this little demo with Craig, and Justin was there, and he's like, I've seen you do this online. I'm like, just watch this live. It'll hit a little bit different.
Oh yeah.
It definitely does hit a little bit different each time. I do that little demo. I'm like, okay, I know the product's going to work and it's going to work well, but there's always that little part in the back of your head that goes, am I going to burn a hole in my hand? Like I'm putting maps gas to my hand here. I kind of need this hand to make a living, right?
Yeah,
So
man. I've seen you guys do that. I'm like, y'all are crazy, but it's a cool demonstration nonetheless. You get to see the product and what it can do, which Lance always kills it. I love watching him when he's at the booth and stuff doing that stuff.
for sure, nothing but love and respect for Lance and everything he's doing. Awesome, awesome guy.
Everybody's cool. The whole community. You can hang out with everybody there. Everybody you see online posting. Everybody's cool. Everybody you can approach everybody, talk to them. I talked to like Craig. You know, I didn't know he knew who I was, and then we ended up talking there for a little bit. Same thing with Chris Stevens. All these guys that I watch and are so much bigger. They have these huge channels and stuff like that. But if you go to the AHR, I know they also do the other one, the symposium, the
Yep.
Brian Orr one.
Hmm.
When you go to these events, they want you to talk to them. They want you to go up to them,
Yeah, it's
ask questions and stuff
everybody's
like that.
family, right?
Everybody's cool with each other. So let's see. Everybody's talking about AHR now. I'll see everybody there. Like I said, hit up the Vito booth and I'll be there.
Looking forward to seeing everybody there as well. Come on by, say hi. Love to chat with you.
So let's get into a little bit. I know we are already over an hour, but let's get into a little bit of what you
Yep.
actually do. You do obviously you work on Aeon units, but you do this kind of like specialty, don't you? It's like I know, like I heard the stories on the other podcast. It's growth. Do you still do growth facilities?
So I work on a lot of different facilities. So yeah, we do
Okay.
work on grow ops, on medical grow ops. A lot of government facilities, military bases, schools. It's wherever the product that our rep firm sells is installed. I come in and I start it up, I commission it. And any warranty work that needs to be done, I'm there to handle that as well. So yeah, there's a lot of different facilities and crazy places we go work on. Um, and yeah, it's just an absolute blast to go do.
And how is it, or is there anything that you need to do differently working in those environments? Because I heard you and Jay talking about, there's a stench, there's a different.
100%. But I'm going to pause you there. I just need to
Okay,
run for something. I'll be right back.
all right, no problem.
Hold on just a minute.
Total Tech, what's that? Let's see what's going on in the chat while we have the doctor step out. Oh yeah, so you were hooked after the Atlanta one. That was a good one to go to. Let's see what's everybody saying in the chat. Yeah, the Milwaukee battery pump. I had the Navac one, and it's useful. I went back. I went to a field piece afterwards, but it's definitely useful. I worked in a lot of kitchens, so like I don't know. I don't want to run an extension cord all the way through 100 feet or whatever. So might need to look into that Milwaukee one. Yo, Brian, I appreciate that. What sort of board failures are you seeing with EEVs? It's not the EEV. Well, it is the EEV.
Sorry about that, Adrian. Just the dog was upstairs whining to go out.
Oh, no problem.
And
But
if I
let me
didn't let him
answer.
out, it'd be a bit of a pain with the rest of the family.
Oh, I have a dog too, and I understand. I was just reading Total Tech's comment. The failures I see is with the. I only do IntelliGen from Heatcraft lately, so I've been having issues where the board, it doesn't want to send the signal to the EEV to open or close. It'll get stuck one way or the other. And I've tried everything. I've tried to be on tech support. I've tried different things. And at the last ditch effort, I just started changing out the boards, and that's what fixed it. I don't know what's going on with them, but after a while, some of them fail. That's been a common failing point that I've seen. Is just I can do test mode. I can do all these other things to test it, and it gives me like the proper readings according to Heatcraft. But when I try to run it, it will not open up that valve, and or it'll get stuck one way or the other. So that's the issue I've had personally.
So answering your question about grow facilities and odor,
Yeah.
yes. The aroma of marijuana products gets into everything. And it can be so pungent you're not even necessarily in the room with the product. You're just
Yeah.
in the facility itself. It permeates everything
Oh
that,
wow.
you know, I was, back in, gosh, a couple years ago, I was working on a grow facility for an emergency service call, and it was Christmas time. So there were a lot of ride programs as you're coming off the highway to make sure you weren't under the influence of anything. So I'm rolling up to the ride program in my service van, roll down the window, talk to the officer, and they're like, have you had any marijuana tonight? I'm like, no, but you reek of it. I'm like, I understand that. I was servicing a grow facility. Took a little bit of talking to, drive that point home to the officer and let me proceed on my way home. But that aroma gets into your tools. If you're carrying any notebooks, weeks
Yeah.
later, you can open up that notebook and you're like, oh, yep, I know that where I was working. Um, there's other facilities that aromas also stick with you as well. So I was working on a gold mine, I think like 4 months ago, and I was working in the extraction mill. So where they actually pull the gold out of the ore that they've mined, and the extraction process, they use ammonia and cyanide.
Yeah.
Now, if you've never been hit with ammonia before, it's like getting punched in the chest and you're just trouble breathing. So we got dosed with low doses of ammonia the entire day we were starting up equipment, and that aroma just stays in your clothes as well for a couple days. No matter what you do, it's just there.
So is there any like is there anything you need to do when you go into these places, or is it just like, you deal with it?
Um, for me, in terms of the aromas, you just have to mentally deal with it. Can it be a distractant? Yeah.
But there's nothing
Uh,
that you have to
but
wear
nothing that,
when you go in there?
so if we're talking just grow facilities, you've got to suit up.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw Jay's post today, where he's working on a clean lab,
Oh, I
where
don't think I did.
he's in a full white suit, like full like white coverall, white hairnet, probably had a beard net on as well at one point. You got to be
Mhm.
completely covered. You got to going into a grow facility. You have to have everything sterilized going in there. They don't want so you got to have all your tools and everything wiped down before you go in. Disinfect your boots. The coveralls cover up your clothes so you're not worrying about your clothes. But yeah, there's a process to get into these facilities,
Got it.
just like there's a process to go into a military base or process to go into like a military research or tech research facility. Everybody has their own procedures that you need to follow and protocols so that you can actually go in and access and do the work on the facility.
Gotcha.
Some of the stuff for like food processing and for grow facilities, there's actually more stringent security procedures in place than military bases I've been on, which is kind of funny in my mind.
That's crazy because yeah, I was wondering like what are their, I don't know, the procedures going into those places, and I heard Jay say that he doesn't even like to take his tools sometimes because he does because of the stench that gets into
100%.
there,
Yep.
the tool bag. So he tries to take just a couple of tools or whatever he needs.
And take the minimum of what you need to go get the job done
Yeah, there you go.
and leave everything else in the truck and
And
hope you
then
don't have to go get it,
oh yeah,
because then you have to go
and
through the whole cleaning procedure to go back in.
oh, that's right. Yeah, and I think he said that, if he has a job there that's that's basically he doesn't like to go anywhere else afterwards because of that whole issue with the smell and all that.
100%. Yep, absolutely.
Man, that's
It's
crazy.
try to limit the day to make sure that that's your only job, because when you walk into another customer and they smell that on you, what's going to
Yeah,
be the first thought? Not that you were going and working on a facility that produces that product, but that you were consuming that product.
of
So
course.
you don't want to have that potential negative customer, mindset to be started up just because you're going and actually servicing another customer.
And you bring up that, you know, uh, they didn't pull you over, you said it was went through something?
A ride check.
Ride
So
check.
yeah, like around Christmas time,
Does that
they'll
does that
set up
happen often?
around holidays. They'll do
Oh,
it,
okay.
especially around like Christmas and New Year's. So they'll set up basically on highway off ramps. They'll set up basically a couple of squad cars, and you just got to go through the line and basically say where you were, if you've had anything to drink and or consume, and hopefully just go on your way and not have to go out and do a field sobriety test.
So do they have you had that issue happen on more than one occasion, or do you have to deal with that a lot when you're working at these facilities and then you go through one of those?
Typically not. That was
No?
kind of a unique experience. I've had it happen maybe twice, but typically no. Usually it's not around holiday time that we're working on these.
Oh, okay.
And now, given my role as more of a startup guy, a lot of it is going to be facilities that aren't quite under production yet, or just getting set up to start. Sometimes it's facilities that are putting an expansion on, so then you're dealing with product in the space that yeah, you're going to have that aroma sticking to you.
Oh, so you also do or you do more of a dehumidification, right? when you deal with, is that like indoor pools, or what is that you do that for?
So the company I work for, we do, obviously semi-custom rooftops with Aon. Uh, their bread and butter that they started with was actually humidifiers, steam humidifiers. And they also do dehumidification applications as well, whether that be for a lab, or, one thing that, niche little area that we work in is in pool dehumidification systems. So I sent you a few pictures of the job I was on that I wrapped up today and I walked into yesterday. Lovely 4-hour drive to get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, indoor pools, they need climate control. And you have a large indoor body of water that you need to control the humidity in the pool area, in what's called the natatorium. And if you're not controlling that air environment properly, a lot of nasty things will happen. You'll have, windows deteriorating, drywall falling off. If there's drywall in the space, it'll
Hmm.
just be really, really nasty. So, controlling the air temperature and the relative humidity in a pool application, indoor pool application, is absolutely critical and essential. And there are units that not a lot of people work on. First time I worked on one, it was a little bit daunting, not knowing exactly how they work and what they are. Like, the easiest way to kind of summarize a pool dehum unit is it is a single evaporator with multiple condensers. So you can have you'll have an evaporator, and in front of that you'll have a reheat coil. That reheat will be used for dehumidification of the pool air. You'll have potentially an outdoor condenser, or a dry cooler for AC mode, depending on the length between the indoor unit and outdoor. But your AC condenser or outdoor condenser is just like regular air conditioning. So you'd be going through potentially just the outdoor condenser and the indoor evaporator, or the indoor reheat coil and the indoor evaporator, or a combo
Hmm.
of the two. Or you could also have what's called a pool reheat coax. So you could reject heat into the pool water if you have extra heat within heat of compression. If you have extra available, heat in the refrigerant circuit that you can reject elsewhere, and you don't need to reject it to either reheat or air conditioning, you can reject it to one of those, and also to the pool water to heat up the pool water based off of what you're already doing to maintain the actual air in the environment. And it's a little bit tricky. It works off of what I like to call the Goldilocks principle. If you remember Goldilocks and the Three Bears, of this porridge is
Yeah.
just right. So, crash course in indoor pool environments. Um, you want to maintain the pool air at least 2 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than the water. So let's say
Oh,
you're
okay.
maintaining the pool water at 82 degrees Fahrenheit.
Hmm.
You're going to want the air in the space to be a sensible temperature of at least 84. You wanted that
Oh,
2
okay.
degrees warmer. So, when you initially walk out into the pool room, you're in your swimsuit. So you're not going to get shocked by, cool air. You're just in a bathing suit. It's going to be a warm environment. You're going to be like, okay, this isn't unpleasant. You get in that pool water that's 2 degrees cooler. You're like, oh, this is refreshing. Swim around, do your thing. And then the big thing is when you get out of the pool, because the air is 2 degrees warmer, you're going to have less evaporative cooling because your body's still covered in water. So you're
Hmm.
not going to get that chill coming out of the pool as much as if the air was colder than the water that you were in.
Yeah, I
But
hate that
the
part
porridge is
of.
the porridge is just right kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's the part that you hate about getting out of the water anywhere, right? Is
Yep.
that cold that comes over you. But I don't know, people don't, and I didn't think about that either. Like the whole science there is like you got to get it just right so that the people are comfortable getting in and out of that pool, and then you also have to worry about the environment in there, because it's like it's an indoor pool. You have a lot of factors which Just Work Here is bringing up. Pretty sure he's talking about that viral video that went around that was like a
Yep.
duct that fell into a pool or something.
Yeah, I believe that was, if I'm not mistaken, at a Great Wolf Lodge facility in the United States. Um, a big reason why unfortunate events like that occur is improper pool area, indoor pool environment
Mhm.
chemistry. So, if they're not maintaining their pool water chemistry properly and they're not, you know, doing proper air control, dehumidification, and also proper fresh air mixing, they are going to have a lot of issues because pool environments are pretty corrosive. Like the
Oh, yeah.
chloramine that comes off of a pool that's being treated with chlorine is very, very, you know, damaging to any and all surroundings. Not to mention if your humidity is not controlled properly. So, let's say all that ductwork in an indoor pool environment that has to be, at least where I am, stainless steel.
Mhm.
Like it can't be just regular ductwork. It has to all be stainless, and all the hangers and threaded rod to hang the ductwork also has to be stainless. Otherwise, it's going to rot and deteriorate. And then you're going to have things like giant pieces of ductwork falling.
Yeah, it's the environment that you have to take into consideration, like you said, how they maintain the pool and everything that goes into that. Just like, cause I live close to a beach, so we live about an hour away from the beach that's here. So when I do work over like where I'm at, we don't have to worry about it too much, but once we get closer to the coast, there's a whole bunch of other factors that come into play because a lot of the stuff over there it's the salt water in the air and everything, and you have to worry about stuff corroding. I have to take a little more precaution and extra steps to make sure we coat coils, we coat filter dryers, anything that could rust out. We have like a little clear coat. We use the refrigeration technologies one. There's different brands, and you take that extra step over there just because it's a little bit different of an environment, and you have to just be aware of that, where you're working and what you're working on, and take those extra steps so that you don't have stuff uh, failing prematurely.
100%. Know the environment, know the conditions that you're trying to operate a piece of equipment in, because that's
Yeah,
going
and
to play a big factor in terms of how long it's going to last.
yeah, and I never would have like I said, thought about all the stuff that goes into like an indoor pool, but there's stuff behind there. There's details, there's things that you need to know, and uh specialty equipment, the whole, the stuff that you work on.
Yeah, it's not something that, I initially thought I'd ever be working on, but it's a fun little product to play around on.
And how did
Uh,
you get into that aspect, the whole like
the whole pool
the
dehum
facility?
market
Yeah.
kind of thing. It's the company I work for currently. They've repped indoor pool dehumidification units for, I believe, over 20 years. So they've always been selling the equipment. And it wasn't until about 3, maybe 4 years ago that they started up their own service department.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
so prior to me joining the company, I'm now in my third year at the current employer. I had done multiple years of third party contracted startups for them on Aeon, Condair humidifiers, and some Ceresco pool dehum units. So that's how I got exposed to it initially. And, you know, given things that went on at the previous employer, it only seemed a natural fit and natural move for me to go to where I'm working right now, and couldn't be happier, working on what I work on.
And did you learn this uh type of stuff at this current job, like on the job, or did you have any previous experience with it?
I learned a little bit on the job at the previous company that I worked for, and when I was introduced to the product line, and then really started learning the product once I got to where I'm at the company I'm working at right now. And one awesome thing about the company I work for right now is they firmly believe in making sure their technicians are factory authorized trained, sending us to the actual manufacturers and factories for specific training. Dectron and Ceresco might be worse than Aon. Okay, Total Tech. Um, hey, Total Tech, what's the difference between a Dectron, Ceresco, and a pool pack unit? There's a question for you, brother.
Now we're asking the chat the questions.
Exactly. Do a little HVAC trivia time, stealing someone's line.
Oh yeah, I think she had to leave a little while ago, but
Hmm.
uh, let me see. Just Work had a question for you. He was asking what type of filters do they use in those type of facilities? Like I think he's talking about the growth
In
ones.
the grow ups,
Yeah.
it depends on a lot of different factors and what they're trying to accomplish with the equipment that I've been sent in to work on. So some will be using carbon filters. Some will be using just your standard, MERV 13, or like MERV 14 filters. Some will even go MERV 8s. It all depends on the placement of the product, what product they're using, and how they're using it, and where they're using it, the environment that they have it installed in. A whole bunch of different factors that go into that. A lot of places will also use, on top of different kinds of filtration, um, different kind of filter. They'll also use UV filtration as well.
Oh
So they'll
yeah.
be using, UVC filtration for the air that's moving around. And a lot of the places, they won't actually introduce a lot of outdoor air. It'll just be recirculated from within the space. And they'll be injecting different chemicals into the spaces, different grow rooms, because they have different stages of growth, whether
Hmm.
they're in bloom or hibernation, so on and so forth, that require different lighting, different amounts of carbon dioxide injection, oxygen injection, humidity levels. It's an entirely different level of wacky science once you get into indoor grow facilities, considering it's a plant that will grow outdoors in some of the most harshest conditions. Indoor grow facilities can be also very, at least the individuals that work there can be very challenging at times because they sit in front of a computer watching trend graphs. And if they're, say, just humidity levels, say their RH is out of whack by, say, 2%, well, the
Hmm.
red flags start getting thrown everywhere, and you better get in there and fix whatever issue might be going on. So it can be quite an interesting environment to work in, not only in terms of the product, but the people that work in those facilities.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of stuff that I just never knew about. So I mean, it's great to hear a different side of HVAC, and that's a whole other discussion. Is the different avenues you can take. Uh, so it's really cool to have you on here and talk about how it is to run a indoor pool or a growth facility or anything of that nature where it's like a little more complicated or a little more extra thought that it goes into it because you got to know what's the product that's in the building and how that works and what they do for that, and it affects the HVAC equipment too. So
Oh, absolutely. You can kind of take, say like grow facilities and extend the, we typically use psychometrics to refer to, human comfort. But you're applying psychometric principles to just a plant, or a chemical product that's under manufacturing. So different pharmaceutical facilities have specific conditions they need to have the production rooms in, their labs in, so that they can actually make the products that they're making. Otherwise, it's not going to be going properly. It's not going to work properly at all.
yeah, I got you.
What's the difference, Total Tech? Well, the three pool units that I just mentioned, the only difference between them now is the sticker that goes on them. They're made by the same parent company.
Yeah, we see that a lot in different sides of the trade. It's like what I was saying earlier. It's like everybody has a brand preference, but more times than not, it's the same equipment.
Yep, exactly. It's the parent company to all three of those, DAS. And they've done a great job taking three different brands, amalgamating them under one, while still keeping them kind of separate, to maximize sales across different rep firms, and people thinking that they're different units when they're not.
Yeah.
So good on them. They've kind of cornered the pool dehumidification market for high-end products used to control those environments, and it's a fun little product to work on. Does it have its challenges? Oh yeah, I had one walking into that job that sent Adrian a few pics of, for those in the chat. Walked into a unit that there was a leak on the rotolock fitting on the king valve off the receiver, and ended up having to yank the remaining charge out of that because I knew it would just be in a gong show if I just started topping it up. And you come in to do a startup, which should have factory charge in a certain part of the unit, to find it's not there, and the installing
Oh,
contractor had repaired the leak. Now you got to verify that, pull whatever was left out of the system, do your triple sweep evacuation, make sure you get it down to an appropriate micron level, and then kind of restart from ground zero. So it turned into a longer day than anticipated on that job, but we got it done. Put in those hours and make sure the job gets done.
was that 40-pound one? I think
Yep.
40 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't trust that. I wasn't going to trust that even though the ball valves were closed to the outdoor remote condenser,
Hmm.
I've had enough times where even though the ball valves are closed, sometimes they do seep through, and I don't know what's mixed with what. So I'm
Yeah.
just going to pull out whatever top up charge was initially put in those line sets and in the remote condenser, and start from ground zero. Know that I had the system wide open
Hmm.
and pulled down to a proper evacuation level. Who pays for the lengthy repairs? You got to have the right tools so the repair doesn't go lengthy. You know, I was pulled out, took about an hour and a half to pull out close to 40 pounds of 410A. If I didn't have a subcooler, that would have been much, much longer,
Yeah.
especially in a hot mechanical room. And the evacuation, triple sweep evacuation, is sped up by using big dedicated evacuation hoses. I was using the True Blue hoses. You yank the Schraders out and you put those 3/4 inch internal diameter hoses on a system, she'll pull down fast. Using an 8 CFM pump, I had that circuit evacuated in under an hour and a half, triple swept, down to under 340 microns, decay up to 380, and held at 380. So
Nice.
lengthy repair, if you're pulling through a manifold and 3/4 inch hoses, yeah. But who pays for it? That goes against the startup budget for the piece of equipment. Sometimes you get through a startup without any issues. Sometimes you got to cut into it to make sure that you repair the equipment properly, or make any changes necessary to the equipment to have it work for the application, so that at the end of the day, the end user has the best possible experience with that piece of equipment, so that once they're done with the lifespan of that piece of equipment, they're coming back getting another one because they had such a positive experience with it, and a positive experience with the people working on it as well.
Gotcha. Uh, I'm gonna go to a question from Instagram from your old buddy. So Jay Jay over on Instagram was bringing up. I don't know if he sent you the same message, but he was bringing up a vacation that you took on the other side of Canada, I believe,
Yep.
and you got recognized by some local HVAC mechanics. So his question is, how does it feel to be a celebrity and recognized in public?
Celebrity, I don't know about that. I'm just an HVAC mechanic doing his thing. Um, So yeah, it was the kind of opposite side of Canada. So I'm in the Toronto, Ontario, Canada area. So like I'm like a 4 hour drive from where I am to Detroit, or
Oh,
two
okay.
hours over to Buffalo, New York, to kind of give you a geographical area. Whereas Jay, he lives out in Vancouver, like around Vancouver, British Columbia area, which is, closest to like Seattle, to
Yeah.
give you kind of give you an idea of the distance between each other. So I was out on vacation in an area of British Columbia called Kelowna. We were visiting some friends out there, and Jay was actually on vacations, kind of sort of in the same area. So our families actually met up for a dinner one night, which was awesome to spend some more time with him and meet his family. But the thing that he's mentioning was, I think day 3 into our vacation, I had posted a few things of different things my family and I were doing in Kelowna. And day 3, we were going to a beach just in the downtown area. And we pull into a public parking area. There's a couple service vans. And I think I was wearing this hat. And so we pull in, and there's a couple techs at the back of their vans loading some cylinders. And one of them just gives me this hard stare. So I think kind of nothing of it. And we park and get out of the vehicle, and all of a sudden I hear from the vans, "Is that the HVAC doctor?" I'm like, "All right, guess I better go over and say hi to the guys and see what they're up to, what they're doing." And it was the first time my daughter had ever seen anything like that. She's like, "They know you?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"And they know me from online. Are they your friends?" I'm like, "Well, we're all HVAC people. It's kind of a community, so
Yeah.
we're kind of sort of friends. Yeah. Do we really know each other? No. Was it cool to take a minute and say, hey, how's it going? What are you guys working on? Spend like 5 minutes with them, just shoot the breeze and say, hey guys, here's some HVAC Doctor stickers. Yes, I was carrying them on me. Never leave home without them.
That's
Say,
right.
hey, here's some stickers. I appreciate you, following and checking out my wacky journeys in HVAC. Appreciate you sticking around and seeing what I do. And I'd love to chat more, but hey, I'm here on vacation with my family. It was awesome chatting with you, but we're gonna go hit up a beach. And have a great day. Have an awesome job. Hope everything goes well, and feel free to shoot me a message, shoot me a DM. I'm always here to chat, always here to help out if you're run up against something and just want to troubleshoot. That's what our community's here for. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the stuff that I work on all the time, but if it happens to be, even better.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you're the lifeline tech, right? I mean, that's what you do.
Hmm.
That's cool. That's cool though, because I've run into people, especially at the AHR events. They're like, "Oh, I've seen your channel, or I've seen whatever," and I'm like, "Awesome," and I love chatting with people, whether it's about work or anything else. It's cool to get that, or to see people that are passionate, or you know do the same kind of work that you do, and it's cool to do that because I don't know, there's not too many people around here that I can do that with and talk shop with or anything like that. And I even have people locally that are watching, my YouTube channel and stuff, and they've stopped me at the grocery store and stuff like that. And
That's
it's a
awesome.
bit it's a bit awkward for me because I'm usually focused on what I'm doing. I'm not usually like, hey, what's up, everybody? But uh, if they stop me, I love to chat. I need to start carrying my stickers. I wasn't doing that for a while, but I gotta have them in the backpack ready to go.
Yeah,
But that's an awesome part, is getting to talk to people. I've talked to people at the supply house, and they see my whether it's like a tool review or something like that, and I'm like, cool. I'm glad that it helped, or anything that I post is helpful. Is like the best feeling to me, is like I help somebody else with a problem or with deciding if they liked this tool or not because I showed it or used it, you know. So definitely cool.
Absolutely. It's takes a little bit of getting used to. You know, doing the whole social media online thing, you know,
It's different.
building it's different and building to the point where I'm at where now I'm starting to get recognized. It's still a little weird. It's like I'm still just a technician going out doing his job every single day and posting about what I like to do.
And
And if people like the content, hey, that's win-win. It's just that much better. And if it helps people, all the more
yeah.
better as well. It's here to share what I know.
Yeah, and it's funny that you said that about your daughter. Uh, you know, that magazine that's over here in my little bookshelf.
Hmm.
Our daughter saw it and she's like, "Is dad famous?" She's like, "Oh my god." I was like, "It's just it's whatever, but like it's cool to be in stuff like that." And
Absolutely.
there's a lot of hard work that goes into the whole content creation that people might not see or understand. And then like for a long time I was doing this for hours after work, like doing my free time doing social media content, right? So
Absolutely.
there's a lot
It's
that
a
goes
second
into it,
job, really.
and it's cool to get recognized for it and stuff like that. So
It's yeah, like you said correctly. It's pretty much a second job when you come home. It's all right, I've taken all these little pictures and video clips through the day. What can I put
yeah.
together to make something that I find entertaining for myself to put out on my page that hopefully somebody else likes or somebody else will find helpful.
Oh, I know. I gotta watch whatever I make or edit like 20 times before I post it because I want to make sure.
Yep, and we've all had those posts where you didn't do that due diligence and you put it out there and you're like, oh, should I have really put that there?
Yeah, it happens. uh,
Yes, I have worked on a lot of boilers. I haven't done a lot of steam boilers. I've done some. When I first broke into the industry, the company I worked for, one of their primary customers was a gas bar chain known as Petro Canada, and they have a lot of car washes and car wash boilers for heat in the wintertime up here in the Great White North. The busiest time for car washes, believe it or not, in my neck of the woods is Christmas and New Year's.
oh,
It's everybody's, going out to family events and they want their
yeah.
cars to look good, but the, roads are covered in snow and sand and salt and whatnot. So you want to get that washed before you show up. So yeah, I've done tons of work on a lot of different boilers, a lot of atmospheric Ray Packs and AO Smiths. Um, worked on a whole bunch of Lars Teledynes, um, Wiesmans, uh, lots of different ones. So yeah, I have done my fair share of boiler stuff. I don't really do that anymore.
Hmm.
Um, if the opportunity comes up to work on boilers again, I'm not going to pass it up. They're fun to work on. It's just not exactly what we're doing equipment wise at the company I work for in terms of what they're selling in the markets that we cover.
Gotcha. And I know his question was directed towards you, but I've never touched a boiler. We don't have those down here. So it's something that I haven't seen, but I like watching all like yourself that does something very different than what I do. A lot of these guys like Jeff Jadem, Flintstone that do the boilers and all this other stuff that I don't see in my neck of the woods. I love to watch that kind of content online that's very different from what I do. So,
100%. And like seeing the content you're putting out, like the stuff that Pat's putting out.
oh yeah,
It's just awesome, great stuff. Like some of the kitchen equipment that Pat's working on is just crazy, crazy stuff. Awesome, awesome to see come up, and it's an area of the industry we don't see enough of, really.
not enough of, and it's not. There's a lot that goes into it, physically, and then getting covered in grease, and there's a whole other aspect to it there. And I respect those guys that do it. My dad does it. I would like to get more into it. I've said that plenty of times, but uh, I really love refrigeration, and that's what I like to do. But hats off to the guys that do the hot side.
Oh yeah, 100%. Hats off to the hot side techs, and hats off to the ones that are doing both, and the ones that are
Yeah,
even just doing cold side. It's everything needs to be worked on. Everything needs to keep on running. If not,
yeah, and I'd like,
not nice things happen.
of course, the world would not go round without us in the skilled trades doing this, for restaurants, for hospitals, for different things, air conditioners for houses and stuff like that. Like, it's just that I had some comments recently, and I don't want to get into it because it's gonna make another hour of this show, but uh, where they're like, HVAC, that's not a skill, that's not this or that, or it's not that hard to do, but there's different aspects. You know, there's residential, there's installs, there's commercial, heavy commercial, stuff that you do that's kind of like specific to certain facilities, there's engineering, there's a whole bunch of stuff. So it gets to me when I see those comments. I'm like, there's more to HVAC than you think.
Oh,
Than changing
100%.
more to HVAC than changing out a capacitor.
Yep. It impacts whether people want to, think about it or not. It impacts almost every area of modern life. Like you can't walk into a building without it being right in front of your face.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little behind the scenes, but HVAC and refrigeration, especially refrigeration across all different levels of, the temperature ranges that we're working it in, it's everywhere. Whether, it's right in front of your face, walking into a grocery store, whether it's behind the scenes, but you're looking at it at a sports event, at a hockey arena, to, pool areas, indoor pool environments that I work on, to even like production steel mills. You need
Oh yeah.
refrigeration in there. Yeah, you need the H side of HVAC, you need the heat, but you also need the cooling and refrigeration side of it as well. It's literally everywhere.
And that's a
Our
good point.
society wouldn't be what it is without us HVAC guys and gals.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And to round out the show, I was just gonna bring up there's a whole thing going on right now too, where like most of the nation or the world is having record setting heat, this summer, to where a lot of like schools and different things are not, or places are not equipped as far as their HVAC equipment, and they're having to upgrade everything now because they need those air conditioners for schools or different facilities that in their area they might not have ever gotten this kind of weather, but we're having a crazy year with weather, and it affects the AC, the stuff that that they need, and now everybody's needing more air conditioning than ever, and it's always going to be like that. There's always going to be a demand, and then we need, like you said, we need good techs or more techs in the field.
Yeah, and not only just AC. Speaking of the temperatures that you're experiencing down in Texas, but also a big thing we see on schools is due to that little thing that shut us down for a couple of years around the world,
Yeah.
IAQ, fresh air requirements.
Oh yeah.
So equipment is being massively overhauled or new equipment's being installed to meet, ASHRAE IAQ standards that are now have to be in place to bring these buildings up to proper levels.
Yeah, and he brings up a good point. Everything has some sort of air condition or
Yeah,
refrigeration part or aspect to it, so it's everywhere.
it's literally everywhere. You can't go somewhere without it being present, really.
All right, man. So we've almost hit 2 hours. I try to keep it as short as I can, but I appreciate you sticking out the time here to be on the show and uh, just talk about what you do and everything that you've done so far. And I appreciate it, and I thank you. Everybody can follow you. It's the HVAC Doctor on Instagram, and I think you're on
Yep.
TikTok, right?
Yeah, TikTok's kind of my neglected social
I
media child.
so.
Really, the main spot to find me is Instagram.
Sure.
And some of my Instagram content also makes it over to my LinkedIn. That's under my actual full proper name, under Matthew Waxer. But main spot's going to be Instagram for everybody to find me. And I'd like to say, thank you, Adrian, for having me on. It was an absolute blast to come on and talk again. It was an
Hmm.
absolute pleasure to meet you in Atlanta. Can't wait to chat with you in Chicago face to face again.
Yeah.
And man, it's been absolutely awesome coming on here. I appreciate you having me on. Appreciate you letting me take a little run out to let Sherlock outside.
No
Otherwise,
problem.
the dog would have, you know, not been so happy waking up the wife and kids. So
I totally
awesome to
get
do
you.
that. So, man, thank you. It's been an absolute blast.
And like I said, I had fun with the conversation. It's good to have you on the show and talk about all these things. I will leave all his information in the description. I'm actually trying to get into the whole LinkedIn side of things too. So I'll leave where you can find Matt, the HVAC doctor, in the description. And I appreciate everybody for coming out. I have to stay for a little outro, so you can stay, you can dip out. It's like a little minute outro, and yeah, I appreciate everybody for coming out. See you guys.